So today we're talking about easy care beginner plants, and these are all of the plants that are going to be in this video. They had a little family photo shoot. All this foliage. Aren't they so precious? Yes. So, side note, I do want to talk about one more thing real quick before we get into the video. This is a book that kind of helped me with survival tips when it came to my plants, and I just thought I'd share it with you guys. I know it's kind of annoying buying houseplant books because you don't know if you're getting someone's bio or them actually talking about how to take care of plants. But I want to show you in this particular book a better what the hell? You know, I didn't know this was right here. Plant diseases. Talks about the viruses, what's on it, how to treat it. Look at that. Anyway, so let's choose a plant that we're all familiar with. Let's look for a monstera. Monstera deciduosa, page 94. So we'll go to page 94 and we'll find the monstera. Starting off with, if your leaves are turning yellow, you are overwatering it. If it's turning brown, the air might be too dry. Uncut leaves. Young plants and new stems do not produce cut leaves. Uncut leaves or mature stems are a high sign your plant is happy. So again, this book just gives you a lot of tips on how to care for your plant and how to rehab it in the event that you feel like you are not doing a good job because you're experiencing any of these symptoms of care. So I try to be quick with a little sidebar, but if you want to buy this book, it will be in the description bar. I get most of my things off of Amazon. So again, how not to kill your plants. So first we're starting with Hoyas. Hoyas are forms of succulents. They like bright and direct light. They like high humidity as far as growing. And they also grow these tendrils, that to me they're tentacles. Don't judge. But they grow out this new growth that sometimes shoots out other leaves. So they say, you know, don't cut it, just let it grow. If you don't like the look of it, you know, completely understand. But I think it's so pretty to just let, you know, the plants do what the plants are going to do. Now, as far as watering is concerned, you want to make sure that you water the plant fully, like all the way through. Whether it's in a nursery pot, a terracotta pot, you know, any type of pot, you want to see the water seep through the drainage holes. And then you also want to let the water drain out. You don't want it to sit in the water because it would cause it to root rot. Though they do need to be watered thoroughly, they do not like wet soil. So it's best to, you know, water it properly, make sure it has proper drainage, keep it in high humidity and in bright and direct light. And that is the simple care for Hoyas. They will always bounce back. They always have telltale signs when they need help. Whether the leaves turn yellow or the leaves look crinkly, you kind of have an idea of what needs to be done to make sure that you are taking proper care of it. The second set of plants are Dracaenas. Dracaenas are a type of tree that can grow pretty tall. given the right conditions. It does not like bright direct light. Doing that will cause the leaves to burn. So what you want to do is just leave it in medium light away from the direct sunlight. But it tends to not need a lot of care. When it comes to watering though, one of the things that you want to make sure is that you use filtered water. Unless you're in an area that doesn't have a lot of salts, hard salts and fluoride in the water, no chlorine, you will probably need to use filtered water to water them. But it's not uncommon for the leaves to turn fully yellow without any indication that you're doing anything wrong. And when I say that, I mean these leaves at the bottom of the plant right here will slowly turn yellow. And at first I thought that I was killing this plant. I was so worried that I wasn't taking proper care of it. But I found out that the leaves are leaving the bottom of the plant and they're growing taller. So as the trunk grows taller, the leaves drop. This will harden and turn more into this hardy woody texture versus this green texture, and it will continue to shoot out new growth as you go up to the top. So that's what I love about this plant is when I thought that I was killing it, I actually was doing such a great job that it was growing taller and I hadn't even noticed. I had to look at old pictures of the plant to realize that what it was actually doing. When it comes to watering, you also want to water this fully through. Well, all of your plants. You want to fully water it through, watch the water drain through the soil and out of the pot that it's in. I keep my plants, most of my plants in nursery pots. If it's in a nursery pot, you want to see all the water drain through, right? And I know some people tend to plant their plants in actual containers, like this one right here. Now this one, in order for me to, I guess, not overwater it or not have it sitting in water, when I planted this in here, I put rocks at the bottom. And then I put the soil and the dirt on top. Then I planted it. Now the rocks at the bottom is where the water is able to escape to, where the roots are not just sitting in water. Because depending on how much water you put in here, it can get trapped and it doesn't have an exit hole. Like it doesn't have a hole at the bottom. So when you're planting sometimes in pots like this, it is best to put rocks at the bottom in order to make sure that your soil isn't just sitting in water. But for this plant, I always let the soil completely dry out. Like right now it's a little damp, so I don't need to water it. But once this top layer dries out completely, I know that it's time to water it. And that is the simple care for Dracaena plants. The next plant we're going to talk about is the Chinese evergreen. This plant is kind of fairly common. You see them in a lot of offices, whether it's a doctor's office, a mall, anywhere that you go that doesn't really necessarily have a lot of light. This plant can tolerate low light, like low light. And that's probably why it's such a common plant in all of those areas, is because you're not necessarily getting a lot of direct light or sunlight at all. Most of the time you're getting fluorescent light, which these plants tend to thrive from. They do need also filtered water so that their leaves don't get burnt from the fluorides or the chlorine. But you do need to let it dry out in between waterings. Give it time to, give it time to enjoy the dry soil. before you decide to water it again, because again, you don't necessarily want to cause any extra issues when it comes to these plants, especially since they're so easy to take care of. They don't need a lot, and since they don't need a lot, you know, almost forgetting them is okay. These are the type of plants that will actually bounce back. So again, these are Chinese evergreens, and these are my only two. Now, pothoses are my absolute favorite plant. They are my favorite plants. I don't have to do much of anything to them. They tend to, they like bright light, bright to medium light, but not direct. You don't want to put them in direct light. You want to keep the soil moist through but not wet. At the same time, they tolerate being dry. Some pothoses is okay with being dried out and nothing happens to them. If anything happens, you know, a yellow leaf might turn up and you pull it off and it keeps going. It doesn't require a lot of maintenance. It does well in high humidity, low humidity. It's just an all-around easy plant to take care of. And the biggest reason for me why I love these plants so much is because they, you know, can go so full and they can trail. And I have a tendency to love to see my plants trail. One of the craziest things that, you know, the plant community is discovering now is that when you put them on a moss pole, they actually grow fatter leaves, like thick, juicy, fatter leaves, and they look beautiful, just beautiful. I have most of the varieties of pothos that I can get my hands on. They have been giving me the least amount of headache. There isn't much that I need to do for them. Just water them once a week and keep it moving. And that's if they need that. On the other side of the pothos spectrum, you have the philodendrons. They have the same amount of care as the pothos have, and they have so many different varieties of philodendrons. These are the varieties that trail like a pothos. So you got the heartleaf philodendron, lemon lime philodendron, and the Brazil philodendron. There are other philodendrons that have just about the same amount of care as far as watering all the way through, making sure that you have proper drainage, and only watering when the soil is wet, having a medium to bright light, and just letting them do whatever it is that they want to do. And the last plant on the list is ZZ, the beautiful Raven ZZ, and the regular ZZ. If you find the variegated ZZ and it's not $100, please let me know. I was watching this girl on YouTube and she found the ZZ in some random shop for $7, variegated. It's variegated with the white and the green leaves. I cannot wait to find that plant. As you can see, I'm going to add it to my collections of ZZs. I already have a Zen ZZ on its way, so I'm so excited. Anyway, but back to the actual care tips for this plant. It likes medium to low light. It is very drought tolerant, and it likes its soil dry. Now, as far as this one is concerned, when you're repotting it, you want to make sure that you have a lot of drainage. If you're repotting it in a pot like this where there is no drainage holes at the bottom, I recommend putting rocks at the bottom. If you are leaving it in the nursery pot, I recommend just a shot glass of water. If you are potting it in this type of pot where there is a drainage hole at the bottom, again, you want to make sure that you put in as many aeration stuff as possible, whether it's Orchid Bark or Pumice. These plants actually came from the nursery like this, so I haven't gotten a chance to switch out the soil on them yet, but they seem to be doing perfectly fine so far, since I've only been watering it like literally a shot glass of water. I got this tip from my roommate when it came to him watering his ZZ plant that he keeps in his bathroom. So this is the last plant on my best plants for beginners list. And one pro tip before I go, because I realized that I'm going to be doing this all day: wipe your leaves. You know, that's the only way it's going to get the amount of light that it does need, if it needs any. You know, you gotta clean them off. So I'm going to be spending all this beautiful Sunday cleaning off all of these leaves. These were in dark corners of the world. This one I keep in a corner in the hallway, so no light gets to it. But all this dust get to it, so I have to clean it off. And then this one I keep in my bathroom, which every once in a while, you know, as I'm coming out the bathroom where it is, a couple of splashes of water tend to get on it. So just make sure when it comes to the leaves of your plants, all of your beautiful plants, that you are taking the time out to wipe them down and clean them so that they are getting the proper light that they do need. The sun or the fluorescent lighting or any type of lighting that you currently have your plants in today. Thank you so much for watching and sticking with me to the end. I appreciate all your support.